Welcome back.
Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that.
It's the Saturday Show, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, here with Alex Napoles. Alex, let's do this thing.
Dude, how exciting is this? It's the first day of college football. It's the start of a new season, and it's the start of a new era here on the Saturday Show.
It's the start of a new Saturday Show. For those that missed it last week, Jake Hatch, the longtime host of the Saturday Show here on the Zone. Long story short, he just had too much on his plate. He had to give some things up to spend some more time with his family. He's a very busy man, and he deserves time with his family, so he had to cut some things out, and he cut the Saturday Show out. And big thank you to Hatch for trusting you and I going forward. Thank you to Lloyd Cole, our program director, again, for trusting us with this show, because it's a big deal. Not only do we get to kind of recap the biggest things we had on the station throughout the week, we hit all the highlights, hit all the biggest interviews that we had, but then, as you mentioned, Saturdays are game day, man. So it's a great opportunity for us to kind of wake up and talk about everything that we have, because here on the Zone, we are wall-to-wall every Saturday. BYU and Utah pregame and postgame. Then, of course, we are the flagship station of the Utah State Aggies. So we have their broadcasts every Saturday. Here in a couple months, we're going to have the Jazz. RSL's still going. We've got the Bees still going. They may make the playoffs as well. So wall to wall, man. And it's so much fun. This time of the year is great. We have so much going on. But as you said, Alex, a new era.
It's amazing, man. And I'm so happy that not only that we have, like you said, we have the trust of Lloyd, of Jake, and the ability to take over the show, but to do this together, man. I think we have good times together.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. Yeah. And we did a show together a couple weeks ago because Hatch had something, and I think it went great.
And now here we are, running the thing every Saturday. Running the thing every Saturday.
All right, let's start the show off how we do. We're going to keep some traditions going. There were some traditions that Hatch had set that we don't want to lose. So we'll start off with the highlights of the week. Alex, what was your highlight of the week?
Highlight of the week for me has not happened yet. I got two things coming up this weekend. Obviously this right now is the highlight of my week, us being able to be on the air together, taking over the Saturday Show and starting this new era. That's highlight number one. And then tomorrow, one of my best friends just had a baby, and I get to go meet her tomorrow. So that's my...
Oh, there you go. That's fun.
I get to go meet her tomorrow. So big shout out to Jalen, Elsie, and Sydney. Super excited to go meet the baby tomorrow. Those are my highlights. Yet to happen, but super, super excited. Looking forward to them.
We got Parker back there producing. Parker, what was your highlight of the week?
So my highlight, I just bought a new car.
There you go. That's exciting. Tell us about it.
I'm super excited. Like, I've been driving a loaner for a little while, and it'll just be nice to have my own pair of wheels again. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to pick it up today.
Oh, so you don't even have it yet?
I have the keys. Cool. I didn't have time to pick it up yesterday, so I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up on Saturday. It'll be fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I guess for my highlight of the week, last night I went and played softball with one of my best friends. He's in a softball league up in Layton. They needed a sub, so they called me up, and I went 0 for 2 at the plate, but I didn't go down swinging. Grounded out both times. I haven't played softball in a couple of years, but it was fun getting out and playing.
Good, man. Good. There you go.
So that's that. Let's get the show started, though. I'm super excited to start things off today. For those that don't know, I produce Jake and Ben here on the KSL Sports Zone Monday through Friday, every day from 10 to 12. Yesterday we had SUU's head coach DeLane Fitzgerald on. SUU is playing Utah week 1. That's on Thursday. And I went to SUU, and I know Coach Fitz, so I was like, yeah, let's get him on the show, talk about his side of things, because they are in the WAC, or excuse me, not the WAC, the UAC, United Athletic.
They changed the name of it recently.
So the UAC is the WAC and another conference kind of combined for football, because not every school in the WAC has football, but they're FCS and they're down in Cedar City, so not a lot of people up here know about them. So Coach Fitz came on and he talked about the Utes. He talked about his program a little bit. So Parker, let's go ahead and fire that up. Let's play. This is Coach Fitz. All right, we got some technical difficulties. No worries. We'll get to that in just a sec, but let's start things off talking about Utah's side of things going into this game, Alex. It's week 1, and Utah, of course, their biggest storyline throughout fall camp was the backup quarterback situation. We didn't have clarity on that for most of fall camp until last week. Kyle Whittingham announced Isaac Wilson is the backup quarterback to Cam Rising at Utah. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. I was talking to Jake about this last week too, and we were talking about. I said that I thought it was interesting that a true freshman was able to get the number 2 for the Utes. A super great opportunity for Isaac, who I think is an absolute gunslinger, and an incredibly talented and young prospect. So we'll hopefully get to see him maybe against Southern Utah, but super excited for Isaac and yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing because on one hand, you've got so many players returning from injury on Utah that you want them to have the opportunity to shake off rust. And playing an FCS school is the perfect opportunity to do that, especially before you ramp up for Big 12 play, which is an incredibly physical conference. So again, SUU is a great opportunity to get these players up to game speed, but then you don't want to overdo it, right? And you want to see what you have in Isaac Wilson and in some of these other players. So that's a fine line that Utah is going to have to kind of figure out next Thursday, and I'm sure that's what the coaches are going to be talking about in the days leading up to it. But we've got Coach Fitzgerald ready to play. We'll get back to Utah in just a second. Alex, here is Coach DeLane Fitzgerald.
Jacob Man 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Penn College football is blessedly here. And our next guest is going to be patrolling the sidelines at Rice Eccles a week from tomorrow, 7 o'clock kickoff. He is the head coach. Oh, yesterday, excuse me. Yeah, that's right. It's a Thursday game. Apologies.
Coach, what are you still doing here? It's
yeah,
Friday.
Seriously.
Go home.
He is the head coach at SUU. He is DeLane Fitzgerald with us here on Jake and Ben. Apologies, Coach. I mean, you've got to pack up and get up here sooner than I anticipated.
It's coming up on us quickly. Hey, guys, thank you all for having me this morning.
Hey, we really appreciate you jumping on, making some time for us. What does this next 6 days look like for you? What's your schedule? When do you head up to Salt Lake City?
Yeah, so our game week will start today. So this is a normal Tuesday for us, and we go Tuesday today and then Wednesday tomorrow and getting in. We will give the guys off Wednesday. Wednesday will be a travel day for us, and we'll visit the stadium and let them see Rice Eccles, and then we eat really, really well on Wednesday night. You know, we'd like to thank the University of Utah for the money for us to eat well on, and then we'll go to the hotel and get a good night's sleep. We'll get up on Thursday morning and do a walkthrough and eat a nice lunch and then head over to the stadium and get ready.
So tell us about the squad, Coach. Are you excited coming out of camp?
We like our team. We're much better than we were 24 months ago. Bigger, faster, stronger. We have depth, and we didn't have depth 2 years ago, but we can have a kid get banged up now, and the next kid can step in and be as good, and we're happy about that. Guys, we're looking forward to our schedule, and we've got a 12-game season, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We're going to take the trip up to our state capital next Thursday night and try to get in and out alive. And if we get out of there healthy on Thursday night, we've got a chance to have a really good fall.
Well, you turn around, you play UTEP week 2, right? I mean, this is not an easy start to the schedule for you guys.
Yeah, well, we can go toe-to-toe with UTEP. We played Arizona State last year, which was a Pac-12 team, and had an opportunity to beat them at the end of the game. We're going to have an opportunity to be successful against UTEP, 9 days after we play Utah. But guys, you guys should be more pumped up about the fall than I am. That's a top 8, maybe a top 6 program there in Salt Lake City. My prediction is that they win the Big 12 and make the college football playoff. Just an exciting group. And men, we've sit here for the last 3 months, and off and on, I've watched them on film. It's the best front 7 that I've ever prepared for.
So with that said, Coach, how do you kind of evaluate your team in this game? And I know I've interviewed enough players going into kind of underdog situations to know that your guys are going to go out there and pour it on and expect to win, even though the opponent is difficult and daunting, as you put right there. So how do you measure progress? What do you want to see to make sure you're ready to go for UTEP?
I want to see our guys compete for 3 straight hours. Want to see them play really hard, want to see them execute, want to see them compete for 3 straight hours. Our players and coaches understand the reality of this situation next Thursday night, and there's nobody that's naive as to what's really going to happen.
You do come in with some momentum. You won your last 4 games of the season last year. You got to 6 wins. How does that help? Does that really carry over from one year to the next?
Yeah, it absolutely carries over. Football programs are no different than any other college athletic program. If you're hot at the end of the season, it usually rolls over into the next season. Guys, if we were playing a team on the same level, if we were playing another FCS team that had 63 scholarships the same way we have 63 scholarships, it'd be a little different story. But we've got a chance to be really, really good. But guys, for us, the season starts next Friday morning.
I'm curious I want to talk to you about recruiting a little bit because I got to admit I'm biased. I love Cedar City. St. George sucks, obviously. Cedar City's where it's at. Talk to me about the message.
He's recruiting kids from St. George.
Well, he's bringing them over to the good side, Ben. Come on now. What are you talking about on the recruiting? Like, what's your sell for SUU as you build this program?
Yeah, you guys know as well as I do. This is a special place, and we're getting ready to hit 50,000 people in town. But although this is getting to be a little bigger town, it still has that small town, homely feel. The food here is extraordinary. A lot of good restaurants and a lot of good food. The chefs here have to be as good as anywhere in the country, so that's really, really good. But I go back to the people all the time. We don't in recruiting, we don't beat anybody on facilities. Well, we beat no one on facilities, but the kids get here and they spend a weekend here with us and they get to know the people here and the people on this campus and people in this town, and it's a special place. One of these places where you can be here during your college career and you leave here, and 20 years later they still remember you. They still talk about you. They still talk to you. They still remember you. So it's neat that way.
Coach, you came from Frostburg State, which admittedly I did not know where it was or what it was, and you had double-digit win seasons, and now you're winning at SUU. What is it about your job, which is a different experience of college football than what most people talk about, that you like and that keeps bringing you back?
Yeah, the first time you heard Frostburg, Maryland, you thought about D.C. and Baltimore, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, and it couldn't be further. It's like somebody here in southern Utah thinking that it's in the middle of Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
It's about the same distance, but yeah, up in the mountains. And I used to laugh when you would tell people you were 35 minutes closer to Pittsburgh. They'd be like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're in the western tip of the state, closer to Pittsburgh than D.C. and Baltimore." You asked about what it is. I think our coaching staff is really, really good. Got guys I think we're sleepers. People usually don't see us coming until we've passed them as a football program. We've said this is our 3rd job as a coaching staff together, and we take jobs and people don't think much of the hire, and then all of a sudden a couple of years later we're better than they are. I would say this, surrounded myself with really, really good people. Our assistant coaches are a lot better football coaches than I am. They're better people than I am, but just surrounding ourselves with good people. And then we have a knack for evaluation. And we evaluate kids and we evaluate the players' parents. And in the recruiting process, we just do a little better job of looking at a 17, 18-year-old and knowing who he's going to be at 20, 21, 22 years old. And we're also concerned with how they're going to be at 30, 40, and 50 years old also. So our evaluation, our recruiting strategies and stuff are a little different, maybe a little better than some other places. Guys, I have been lucky. I have been lucky because as a head coach, if you take a job with a bad administration, sometimes it ends your career. Sometimes it's your last head coaching job. I have been fortunate to have now 2 straight really good administrations. That bunch at Frostburg was top notch and did it the right way. And then we have a president here, Mindy Benson, and an athletic director, Doug Newth, that have surrounded themselves by really good people and a lot of fun to work with and to work for. And they're making decisions based on what's right for our students and our student athletes, and that helps you be successful. But I've been lucky to have had back-to-back good administrations.
Did they make sure you're really into Shakespeare before you took the gig? They're like, you got to be into Shakespeare before you.
Our president's as good as they come, and the best thing she did for me is she hadn't pushed Shakespeare on me one bit because I would not like it.
I want to talk to you about the league, the United Athletic Conference, the UAC, your thoughts on it and SUU's fit in it.
Yeah, third ranked FCS conference last year. Anytime you've got a conference where half the teams are from the southeast or from the southern part of the United States, it's going to be really competitive, and football is going to be important. This is where I think the conference is really good for us and the school down south from us. Is you got 2 schools from Utah, and then there's 3 or 4 schools from the state of Texas. And then we go 1 school from Arkansas, 1 school from Alabama, 1 school from Tennessee, 1 from Kentucky, and now 1 from Georgia. And football in those states is really, really important. So the fan support and attendance are big, and then the teams are good because it's important to the town and it's important to people's parents in those areas. If you can align yourself with some schools in Texas and some schools in the southeast, it's going to be important. Really, really good play. Every preseason poll that I've peeped at has us 3rd or 4th in the conference. Preseason polls mean absolutely nothing. We've actually got to go out and play. But I'm talking to you guys. In my career, it's my 16th season as a head coach. This is the best off season that I've seen. This is my 30th year in college football. This is the best off season that I've seen. And all that being said, we got to get in and out of our state's capital healthy on Thursday night.
Coach, I'm sure you have 63 scholarship kids you'd like to talk about and even more walk-ons, but is there a player or two who you think really represent what you're trying to build at SUU and what you guys mean and what you're trying to attract kids to?
Yeah, Connor Cullimore he was a freshman All-American. He's an all-conference player. I think he embodies kind of what our state is and what our university is, but he's a return missionary, married from Phoenix, Arizona. His wife runs the 100 meters on the track team. She may have the school record, secret Cullimore. But I think that he kind of embodies, who we are and what we're about. We have a lot. I'm sitting here and we've got over 24 return missionaries on the team. And I think those guys kind of embody who we are. I'll give you another one is Colin Gardner's our starting left tackle. He's in his 3rd year as a starting left tackle. But his wife is the best offensive player on our women's soccer team and return missionary, married. They're both Connor's a 3.3, 3.4 student. Colin Gardner is a 3.6, 3.7 GPA student. I think they kind of represent, who we are. And then, taking the return missionary piece out of it, we've got Braden Whistler, who was a great player in high school at Bingham, and he's now a 3-year starter for us at tailback and a Salt Lake City kid, and he does a nice job for us. Targy Lamson's another one of our tailbacks, and he's a 10th View grad and does a really, really nice job for us. If those two at the running back position, I think they kind of embody, who we are and what we're about. But good young men off the field, good students in the classroom, and then they just play their rear ends off on the football field. Whether it's practice or games, they play extremely hard, and it embodies, what our coaching staff is and what our football program is. Guys, y'all want some good ones, and y'all are in Salt Lake, and the people are listening. I haven't had a chance to tell these stories, so this is good. We went up and played Utah. We'll be 1 week short of 24 months when we get up there next week. And two of the things that happened while we were there that really made me smile was we got there on Friday evening last time, and we're going in for our walkthrough. And one of the older female ushers, she said, "We'd like to welcome all of you guys to Utah." And I looked at her and looked away, and I was going to let it go. And I turned and I said, "Ma'am, you do know Southern Utah is located in Utah, right?" And you never know if it's a retiree or a transplant. And she may have not even known what our school name was, but I thought it was funny. I wanted to say, this is not like North Dakota and South Dakota. It's not 2 different states. But that was a good one. And then the student section. And we kicked off at 11:30, which I approve of, 11:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning. So the fans there didn't get a chance to get lathered up and loud before we played last time. But we come out and the student section is there and they're razzing us and they keep talking to us about elevation. and they keep saying, how are y'all going to handle the elevation? How are y'all going to handle the elevation? I didn't have the heart to tell them that we had drove down 1,000 feet to get from here to Salt Lake.
I think we're going to be fine.
I did decide one thing 2 years ago. I'm never going to pay for my children to get a degree in geography at Utah University.
Coach, that's hilarious. And we really appreciate you coming on. That's so cool. Good luck next week. And seriously, thanks for a few minutes.
Hey, guys, I appreciate y'all. Have a great fall.
Hey, you too, Coach. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Utah.
Thanks, guys. Go
Welcome to Utah. Thanks, Coach.
Oh, man, I love Coach Fitz. He's such a character.
What a funny guy.
Oh, he's hilarious.
I had no idea Coach Fitzgerald was a comedian like this, man.
Yeah, he's very funny. I love the way he talks, his cadence, his southern accent. It just makes everything comedy.
That was awesome. That was a really great interview. And it's not only, obviously, I mean, the seriousness of it, of like him getting into his team and getting into this matchup, but like just the funny stories of, hey, welcome to Utah. And Southern Utah's in Utah.
Yes. I think big takeaways, obviously, from that interview. Number one, he knows what this game is, right? He mentioned basically they're just trying to get out alive on Thursday, and then essentially their season starts Friday. Okay, it is what it is for SUU. And then after this game against Utah, they prepare for UTEP. But, I mean, Coach Fitz giving love to the Utes. He said that he thinks they're going to win the Big 12. He thinks they're a top 8 team in the country. He said that Utah has the best front seven he's ever prepared for. Keep in mind, he did play Utah 2 years ago. So very, very high praise for the Utah Utes from SUU head coach DeLane Fitzgerald.
And I think warranted praise. I mean, we've been talking about it on this station all preseason long. This is that Utah front seven is looking better more and more each day. They're looking healthier more and more each day, and it's that front seven for the Utah defense is going to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and we've got some sound that we'll play later on in the show. Running out of time this segment, so we'll talk about the Utes more in full in another segment. I mean, you and I both spent some time up on the hill during fall camp, going and getting sound from players and coaches, and the excitement up there is palpable. I think everybody's excited. And one thing I'm excited for the Utes is to see how they walk the line of going about their business with all the hype that they have, because everybody's picking them to win the Big 12. Everybody's picking them to make the college football playoff. And so it's really hard to go into a season in your first year in that conference with all this hype. Everybody sees you as a villain. So how does Utah handle that?
It's going to be interesting to watch that kind of unfold because, Christian, you hit it right on the head. You know, even in the Pac-12 era, even with the back-to-back Pac-12 championships, they weren't necessarily the favorites.
No.
You go back, you look at that USC game, everybody talks about the Caleb Williams Pac-12 championship game, and USC was favored in that one.
Yeah, because Utah had won in earlier in the season, and everybody was like, oh, Heisman winner. They're not going to lose to Utah twice. Yep. So USC is going to win. But lo and behold.
Now it's different.
Yes.
Now it's different. Now Utah has the expectation. Now Utah's coming in. I remember having this conversation with Hatch, too, a little bit ago, where we were talking about imagine how Kansas State feels. Imagine how Oklahoma State feels, right, where they were potentially going to be the favorites, and now you have this new guy coming in, just kind of walking in with a little bit of swagger into this new conference and saying, hey, we're going to come in and we want to run this.
Exactly. These programs that had been in the conference for a while, they had established themselves, big national brands, and then all of a sudden Utah kind of comes out of nowhere as far as winning the Pac-12 recently, and then now everybody kind of sees them as a top 10, top 15 team in the country. But again, we'll get more into Utah later. College football week 0, man.
What a game.
What a game. We've got Florida State playing Georgia Tech over in Dublin, Ireland. Florida State got on the board first, 8-0. I saw the touchdown. I didn't know they went for 2.
I didn't either. They went for 2. They got it, obviously, 8-0. And then Georgia Tech just scored a touchdown to make it 8-6.
So are they going to go for 2, or are they going to kick the extra point they're kicking? Look at that, 8-7. Wow, we got a game over there in Dublin, Alex.
There's a little bit of hype on Georgia Tech. Usually Georgia Tech's not one of those teams that you hear about, but apparently people are looking for Georgia Tech to kind of make some noise in the ACC this year.
Yeah, and I think it's super cool. Obviously, we're all very excited for college football to be back. Week 0, we got a fun slate of games today. We're going to have this game on in the studio, so we'll be updating you, the listener, in case you can't get to your TV, and keep tabs on that. But we'll get more into college football on the other side of this break, Alex. Stay tuned. This is the Saturday Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right, on time. It's tricky. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around. That's right, on time. It's tricky. It's tricky.
It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza and Alex Napoles. Big first down for Florida State. He's still going down to the 50. Oh my gosh, Alex, I'm excited for college football. What's your favorite game of the day today, week 0?
Favorite game of the day today? I mean, it has to be this one, right? This is probably the biggest matchup of the day today here in week 0, this Florida State Georgia Tech game. But I think a lot of locals are going to have their eyes on not only SMU Nevada for obvious reasons that BYU will play SMU later on this year, and also I think a lot of people will be tuning into Montana State, New Mexico. Bronco Mendenhall getting his first game as a head coach of the New Mexico Lobos, plus a little USU interest in that one as well.
Yeah, a little USU interest. And me, again, I went to SUU. Most of my time there, they were in the Big Sky, so I love Montana State. They're a really fun program to watch. But you mentioned USU there in the Mountain West Conference, along with the Lobos and Nevada. You mentioned them earlier. First off, you had some thoughts.
You talking about their helmets?
Their helmets.
Oh, boy.
So this year on April Fool's Day, they tweeted out a picture of a cow-printed helmet that they were teasing as a joke. But it got so much attention on social media that they announced that they're going to wear it week 1 against Robert Morris.
It's fantastic. It's a great marketing tactic, I feel like, for USU. You bring out the helmets. You have now T-shirts that are going to go along with the kind of the cow print theme. Incredible marketing from USU, but I'm not sure I like the helmet.
Really?
Yeah.
The cow print. You don't like the Utah State?
No, I don't think I'm a fan.
Really?
I don't think I'm a fan.
I do. I like the dark blue. My favorite Utah State helmets are the ones with the state outline on it. I think those ones are really cool.
And we've had this conversation before, but I don't like those ones either.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. You like just the classic.
Just the classic. Give me the U State.
So are they doing a whiteout week 1? Are they wearing the white helmets with dark uniforms? I hope not. I hope they're doing all white. That would be really cool.
I think it would look better with the all whites.
Yeah, I think so too. But let's get into actual football with Utah State. We had some more news, more updates in the crazy drama that they've had up there in Logan. Former head coach Blake Anderson is suing Utah State. That's huge. And he's using a local law firm to do it, Alex.
He continues to talk about how he was wrongfully terminated. When all this kind of broke, and that show that we did together a couple of weeks ago, when Jake Hatch was out, we mentioned that it was going to get ugly. And I think we're starting to see that. There's going to be situations going on with Blake Anderson, some legal situations going on with the former head coach of the Utah State Aggies. And so going to keep an eye on it and see kind of what comes out of it.
One thing I think is interesting is, as I mentioned, this is a Logan-based law firm. And I thought it was kind of silly towards the end. They mention all of the attorneys at Berenson and Caldwell are true-blooded Aggies in all caps. So that's really interesting. I think it shows the divide up in Logan because everybody up there is loyal to Utah State, and it shows how much that this situation has really just divided that city, that college town up there. And it really is huge. And I keep using that word huge, but that's what it is because people up there are picking sides. Fans of Blake Anderson, Jerry Bovee, feel like they got wronged. Of course, Blake Anderson and Jerry Bovee themselves and Amy Crosby feel like they got wronged. And they are taking action to right that wrong. And so Blake Anderson believes that he deserves to get paid out by Utah State, and Utah State feels like they shouldn't have to pay him, so this is going to go to court.
It's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. But I want to obviously focus on the football.
Yeah.
Talk about the football, and I think Utah State opening up the season against an FCS school in Robert Morris. I think it's a good opening game for the Aggies. You have an opportunity to welcome in an FCS school, kind of see where the team's at. I don't really know what to make of the Aggies just because there's so much turmoil and there's so much uncertainty, I feel like, with everything that's happened this offseason for Utah State. But I do expect guys like Royals, guys like Ike Larson to have great seasons.
Yeah. Jalen Royals was just named number 6 to Hans and Scotty's 60 and 60. Ike Larson is yet to be named, so I'm going to assume that he's in the top 5. I don't think he was left off of that list, Alex. But how do you think that the team is going to respond to this? All of this emotional stuff, and then on top of that, they had the tragedy of a teammate passing away. So those are things that can really sink a team and really hurt their confidence ahead of the football season. Do you think that these guys are going to rally around the adversity, or do you think it's going to be too much for them to overcome?
I think they have to. They have to rally around the adversity. It's a challenge for guys like Royals, guys like Larson, the leaders, the veterans on this team, to rally their troops and get them ready for this game against Robert Morris. As the leaders, as the vocal leaders, you have to get your team to focus on what you can control. And what you can control, obviously, is going to be the game plan and your performance against Robert Morris.
Yeah.
If they come out and struggle against Robert Morris, I feel like with everything that's happened up in Logan this season, that can really hurt that team's confidence.
Yeah. And especially if you start out slow, and they've got a rough schedule to open because they play Robert Morris week 1, but then week 2 they go to LA to play USC, and then week 3 they're back at home, but they're against Utah. So if you're 1 and 2 out of the gates, like, that's rough. It really is rough. And then not long after that, they play Boise State. So they have a tough slate, Alex.
They do. They got a tough schedule to open up the year. And again, I don't know what to make of this team, but just because of all the turmoil, just because of all the controversy and everything that's gone on with this Utah State Aggie team on the offseason. So this is the challenge. This is the challenge to those leaders. Rally your troops, get them ready, go get a big win against Robert Morris week 1.
Yeah. And I think one thing that we kind of need to touch on too is after a coach is fired, players get a transfer window, a new transfer window.
That's right.
And they lost, I believe, 2 players to the transfer portal. One, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but he was not essential to the roster. They did lose Micah Davis, wide receiver, which was a big blow. But other than that, their roster is intact, which is huge. And Ike Larson especially was a name that everybody was watching out for because we know that he's wanted around the state, around the country. These bigger programs are trying to poach him or players like him from the smaller schools. So for Ike Larson to stick around through this and show his loyalty to Utah State and the program,
huge.
Great show of leadership from Ike Larson. And then when other players see that, they want to rally around that and say, yeah, this is a guy that I want to take the field with. This is my brother that I want to go out there and play football with every single Saturday. So that's huge for the Aggies, and that really pumps me up.
Absolutely. It's a big sign of the show of camaraderie to have one of your biggest leaders and one of your best players on that roster decide to stay in Logan, decide to stay with the Aggies despite everything that's happened. If I'm a younger guy, right, I'm looking at that, and I'm going to rally behind him. That's my guy. That's my brother.
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I can put my team in a position to win because he potentially gave up moving on to a bigger program.
Yeah.
To stay here and play alongside me. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure we get that win. He
was on the Hans and Scotty show a couple months ago talking about how when the national transfer window opened, schools were offering him $500,000, $600,000 to leave. And that's a big paycheck for a 20, 21-year-old. I can't imagine how hard it is to pass that number up. But he went to Skyview. He's from the Cache Valley, so he's loyal to Utah State. But let's talk about the offense, Alex. They've got a new quarterback this year, Spencer Petras. What are your expectations from him? This is a guy we don't really know much about.
I'm looking at him to come in and kind of show what he's got against Robert Morris. Like I said, taking on this FCS team first game, I think it's good for Utah State to have this FCS opponent come in first game because you allow Spencer to kind of show what he's got. I wasn't necessarily impressed with him maybe down the stretch at Iowa, but if he can really turn it around, take this offense and really run this offense, because if I remember correctly, Utah State struggled at quarterback last year. There was a lot of questions where with Hillstead, with Laga, I can't remember the third one, but
Williams got some snaps.
Yeah, there you go. And so if he can come in and make himself the undisputed number one, I think that'll really, really help this offense.
Right, and undisputed number one is a great way to put it because they also brought in Bryson Barnes. He hit the transfer portal from Utah, and he ended up going to Utah State, and he had some good games last year for the Utes. Ultimately, he was not the answer, and they couldn't hit their ceiling with him under center. But moving to the Mountain West Conference, maybe he does that. Maybe he does have that opportunity to lead a squad in that conference up there. So, I mean, Petrus is kind of under the microscope because Bryson Barnes is there nipping at the bit. And looking at Petrus's stats, so Spencer Petrus, former Iowa Hawkeye, he was injured in 2023 at a shoulder injury, so he did not play. His last full season was 2022. Threw for 1,700 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Like, not eye-popping numbers, right?
Those numbers are don't really move the needle.
No, not at all. So, again, maybe the change in competition going to the Mountain West Conference, and of course, Iowa does not have the weapons at wide receiver that Utah State does. Jalen Royals is one of the best receivers in the country, in the entire country. And whoever is under center, whether it's Spencer Petrus or Bryson Barnes, is going to benefit from that.
Absolutely.
And, man, I can't wait. The Aggies, I think, have the potential to be a really fun football team.
They could. And it can go one way or the other. It can go really, really well for the Aggies this year, or it's going to be not so great for the Aggies this year.
Right. Like we kind of mentioned, it's with everything that's happened, it's either going to make or break their season. They're either going to be a really cool underdog story that's going to get a documentary on ESPN, or they're going to just be forgotten about because they only win 2 games.
And I hope they can do it. Obviously, I always want the local teams to be successful. I always want the local teams to do well. And so I'm really rooting for Utah State to have a good year. If they can potentially surprise some people, right, turn some heads, and start competing for a potential Mountain West Conference game, championship game, right, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing for the Aggies, especially after what happened this offseason.
Yeah, and then you look at Nate Dreiling, the kind of interim head coach. He was brought in. He was at New Mexico, and he's very young 30s. He came into Utah State to be the defensive coordinator this season. This is his first year with the program, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, Nate, we need a head coach.
Looks like you're going to be
Looks like you're going to be the head coach.
And look, he's playing for a job, man.
Yeah.
He's coaching for a job, I should say. If Utah State can find some success this season, there's no reason why Nate Dreiling shouldn't be in the conversation to potentially just take over full time.
Yeah.
And take that interim tag off.
Whether it's at Utah State or at another program, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. If the Aggies can find some success, maybe other programs start sniffing around and saying, hey, maybe this is a guy we want to bring in to potentially lead our program. We'll see what happens.
First quarter coming to an end. Florida State 8, Georgia Tech 7. That's going to be such a fun game. We'll see how the rest of it plays out, but we're going to hit a break. Coming up next on the other side, we're going to do technical fouls, another tradition that we just can't let go of. One of our favorite segments every week. So stay tuned, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If you're coming from the street with dirty shoes on your feet, that's a technical foul. If you switch the radio to some modern music show, that's a technical foul. If you touch the thermostat,
you'll get hit with a bat.
'cause that's a technical foul.
You will feel my wrath.
That's a technical foul.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
A technical foul.
It's the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles. Real quick, Alex, got to give some love to some listeners. Loyal listener, Clinto Pete, getting after us for not talking about BYU yet. Clinto, we got a whole other hour of the show, man.
Stay tuned.
11 o'clock.
Stay tuned.
We'll be talking about BYU. We've got some great sound from them, from their media availability earlier in the week. So we're going to get to BYU later. But right now, Alex, let's do technical fouls. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll take a run at it first. Look, it seems like it's becoming a constant reoccurring theme here on Technical Fouls on this Saturday show where we kind of poke at Deion Sanders because he's making it difficult over there in Colorado. A Colorado reporter was banned from interviewing Deion for over-criticizing the Colorado Buffaloes football team.
That's crazy.
He was banned. He cannot ask questions. He cannot interview Deion because Deion didn't like his criticism.
So who do you think has more technical fouls on the show, Deion Sanders or Draymond Green or LeBron James? I'd say those are our three all-time leaders in Saturday show technical fouls.
I think right now Deion Sanders is taking it.
Yeah.
It seems like every other week something's going on with Deion.
Deion Sanders
and Colorado.
is going to win Rookie of the Year for
man.
technical fouls.
Christian, what do you got this week?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's do this, Alex. We're going to talk about one of Jazz fans' vices.
Oh.
Gordon Heyward. Gordon Heyward, in case you missed it, he sat down and did a podcast with JP Chunga of the Utah Jazz. So it was like an official Jazz podcast.
Yes.
Gordon Heyward just retired, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it was a little weird for him to sit down and do a podcast right away, considering how he left Utah and the way that he left Utah. But I had a clip from this podcast that I wanted to play. So, Parker, let's fire that up. This is Gordon Heyward.
It's hard to look back and say, like, what if? Ultimately, I think, and I've said this before, like all three choices were really good choices. I think really good, well-run organizations, all three at the time, extremely well coached. It was really hard to make a decision, to choose. And I was torn up until the last minute that I made up my mind. And, ultimately it was something where I felt like Brad was one of the biggest reasons as to why I left. I mean, Brad was the first coach to kind of tell me like he thought I had a chance to play in the NBA.
So Gordon Heyward mentioned 3 teams there. As for those that don't know, his free agent decision came down to the Utah Jazz, the Miami Heat, and the Boston Celtics. Of course, he ultimately did decide to go to Boston. He had some promise, but then he got hurt. He broke his ankle. And then was never really the same. He never returned to the all-star caliber player that he was here in Utah. And I think that it's a little weird, again, for him to come on and do this, considering the way in which he left the Jazz. He was a free agent, and he kind of led the team on, making everybody think that he was going to re-sign in Utah, dragging it on with their hands tied behind their back. And then on the 4th of July, 2017, ruined everybody's holiday. He announced that he was going to go to Boston. And that was hard for the Jazz because they're sitting, like I said, they were sitting on their hands, waiting. And then Gordon Heyward kind of just screws them over. And of course it worked out because the Jazz happened to just fall into Donovan Mitchell. But normally that doesn't happen. The Jazz got lucky. So we could have seen a few years of kind of tanking from the Jazz if Donovan Mitchell didn't turn into what he was immediately. But again, I just think it's really weird for Gordon Heyward immediately because he knows how he is perceived in Utah. He knows how fans feel about him.
Yes.
But he does a podcast to endear himself to the fans right away. I think it's kind of awkward right now.
It is. It is a little bit awkward. I think because he realizes, too, that Jazz fans have not forgiven him for the whole debacle.
So you think it's like a play to say like, hey, guys, it really was hard for me,
Maybe a little bit to try to clear up his name a little bit here for the Utah Jazz fans, because you talk to Jazz fans, I've had these conversations before with Jazz fans, and they have not forgiven Heyward.
No, nobody has.
For that July 4th decision.
Yeah. It was tough.
So it's an opportunity. It seems like it's an opportunity for him to try to clear his name, get in the good graces of Utah fans now that he is no longer in the NBA.
My grandma bought me a Gordon Heyward jersey for my birthday. My birthday's in May. So May of 2017, my grandma got me a Gordon Hayward jersey. Then he left in July.
That's rough.
Florida State just kicked a field goal. They're up 11-7. Alex, you said you have another technical foul.
I do got one more. I do have one more. And this technical foul goes to Fox Sports and the Associated Press. Obviously, Real Salt Lake back in action tonight against the San Jose Earthquakes. Andres Gomez no longer a part of this Real Salt Lake squad, but there was an article posted with the byline being Gomez leads Real Salt Lake against the San Jose Earthquakes, but Andres Gomez is no longer a part of this team.
Right.
So technical foul for not knowing, for not being aware. David James shared this picture earlier this week, and I saw it, laughed for like a solid 3 minutes.
Yeah, so I filled in for Hatch on DJ and PK yesterday, and of course, I get in super early. I have to be here at like 5 to prep the show and everything. So I was looking at stories, looking at RSL because I knew they're back in action. Then I saw that story, and I was like, wait, am I sleep deprived? Because I swear Andres Gomez got sold.
Yep.
Like, is he going to be in France?
In France, yeah, he's going to Stade Rennais.
Right. So I knew Andres Gomez was not with the team anymore. That kind of just happened with the last couple of weeks. But then I saw that headline. I was like, oh, DJ's going to love this. And so, yeah, big miss by Fox Sports. If you're listening, Andres Gomez is not on RSL, so he can't lead RSL against San Jose.
Says, bottom line, Andres Gomez leads Real Salt Lake into a matchup with the San Jose Earthquakes following a 2-goal performance against the Colorado Rapids, which that part's true.
He did have 2 goals. That was true, yeah.
But he's no longer with the team.
Yeah. RSL back in action tonight. Are you producing this one, Alex?
I am, yeah. I'll be here with Jake Hatch and Spencer Warren on the pregame show.
What time's that at?
That one will be here on the Zone. Pregame show starts at 6:30, kickoff 7:30. All the action here on the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go. RSL coming off of the League's Cup break. They haven't played in like 3 weeks or something like that.
August 5th was the last game.
So super excited for RSL to get back in action. They are third in the MLS Western Conference behind both LA teams. LAFC is second, right? And then LA Galaxy is first.
Correct.
So super, excited to see RSL back in action. Chicho Arango having a monster year for the club. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about BYU the next segment. We've got some sound from coaches and stuff throughout the week. We're going to get to that on the other side of this break. Coming up next, this is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.